Are you new to robot vacuum cleaners? Have you bought your very first robot vacuum cleaner and maybe it's not working the best? Hello everyone, I'm Just a Dad, and in this video I'm going to go over some of the common mistakes people make when you first buy a robot vacuum cleaner. Some of these are very simple, some of them are kind of complicated. I've got a guide here. Now, I do have my very own website, justadadapproved.com, and on my website, I've got my robots that I highly recommend, like the Mova P10 Pro. It's my #1 pick. But I'm also have buying guides and common mistakes, how to fix certain problems, how to do all the maintenance. So if you're new to robot vacuum cleaners, I want justadadapproved.com to be your go-to place for robot vacuum cleaners. Now, full disclosure, I do buy all these robot vacuum cleaners with my own money. I've purchased over 250 robot vacuum cleaners, and I do use links. So if you purchase a product off of my link in this video or on my website, I am an Amazon affiliate. The product's not going to cost you anymore, but I do earn a small commission from the sale. I love buying these with my own money. That way I can give you my honest opinion. I want to prevent you from buying a really bad robot, which I have right here. This is the Roomba robot vacuum cleaner, the old J9. It was probably pretty good about 3 or 4 years ago, but it is not, there's no iRobot Roomba that I recommend right now. But let's get started. Now, even with my #1 pick, the Mova P10 Pro, which has very little hassle and is an excellent robot, these common mistakes also apply to it. Now, some robots that I don't recommend will have even more what I call hassle factor, or things that are just hard to figure out. But let's get started. So again, if you're new to robot vacuum cleaners, they can be very intimidating. I remember what it was like when I got my first one, and they were super intimidating. And that was a light bulb moment for me, that if these things are hard to figure out, they're going to be hard to figure out for other people. And that's pretty much why I've done this for the last 2.5 years, is figuring out robot vacuum cleaners. I do think they are the future. They're only getting better. So I'm going to be reading off this list, but I'm going to talk about them and kind of show you some things about them. But again, that's on my list if it's easier for you to read. So the #1 thing is not opening your box. I kind of forgot about it till I've talked to some people, and I recommended a robot vacuum cleaner to my sister, and she bought a robot vacuum cleaner that I recommended. And I asked her about a month ago, or a month after she bought it, I said, "Hey, how's it doing?" And she goes, "Oh, it's still in the box." I'm like, "Oh." And then I remember, when we buy something that we are kind of intimidated by, or maybe we just don't have time, but most of the time it's like, "Oh, that thing's going to be really hard. I'm going to put that off till I got a lot of time." Now, you may be forced into that situation, but I don't recommend that. As soon as you get a robot vacuum cleaner, even the Mova P10 Pro, which I absolutely love, or other robots that I love, that get the blue Just a Dad sticker seal of approval, which you can see on my website. Any robot that you get, and especially ones that maybe are from third party or manufacturers that you may not recognize, open the box. That's going to tell you so much. You're going to find out right away, is something broke? Is all the pieces there? And I have unboxing videos that show you everything that comes in the box. The next thing is start using it. I have the setup videos. If you're intimidated by a robot vacuum cleaner, it comes in a box, it looks really, really intimidating. You got to connect it to a smartphone. I walk you through step by step how to do this, and then start using it. Put it on a schedule. Have this thing aggressively clean your house. We want to test this thing really, really hard for the first 30 days. Because if it can pass that 30-day test and you don't feel like you want to throw it out the window, it's going to be a pretty good robot vacuum cleaner for you. So unbox it, start using it. It's all, again, because I recommend buying robot vacuum cleaners off of Amazon. I am an Amazon affiliate. Again, full disclosure, I do earn commissions off of these links. But again, I purchase these robot vacuum cleaners with my own money, and this is my absolute honest opinion. These are only robots that I recommend to my friends and family. Because guess what? If I recommend something that's not very good, they're going to be calling me to help fix them. And I don't like having to go fix problems when we can get robots that we don't have to do that. So again, letting it sit in the box, and the reason I wanted to say that is I recommend off of Amazon because they have a 30-day return policy. that's very good. If something's wrong in the 30 days, you go on there and you say something's wrong. A lot of times they may even come to your house and pick it up. A UPS driver may come and pick it up, which is nice because these boxes are kind of big and heavy. And also, I do get the warranty from Amazon. Now, I've got the yearly warranty because I buy so many products, but they do offer individual warranties for individual products. I haven't had to use it yet. I've looked into it. I've researched it a little bit. It seems like a really good deal, so I'm going to get that. Working with that, I think it's going to be, and just working with Amazon. The manufacturers, their websites, I have purchased stuff off of them in the past. It's okay. The user experience is usually okay. The return policy through a manufacturer's website, I don't think is quite as good sometimes. I haven't gone totally in the weeds in that, but it's just so easy on Amazon. So that's again, 30 days. And around holidays, sometimes we get up to 60 days. If you buy it for Black Friday, you've got till the end of January. So you can put a robot vacuum cleaner through a test for 2 months to see if you like it. That's why I recommend that. Start using it quickly. Okay, the next one is, you may not be familiar, but robot vacuum cleaners have LiDAR navigation. The only robots that I recommend have LiDAR navigation. It may be raise it up and down, or it may be kind of a combination, but they'll have LiDAR navigation. And not all robots have really good obstacle avoidance. So in your app, you may see the ones that I recommend you can put a no-go zone. So there's going to be areas where robots just don't play well. I've got a computer in the other room, and it's got cords that go down. They're kind of on the floor all the time. Robots are just going to struggle in that area. So if you constantly have it go in that room and try to clean that room, and it's constantly getting stuck, sorry about that. Again, no-go zones. In the app, you can put a no-go zone in an area that the robot's not going to go in there and clean, which that's part of the deal. But if it's an area where it's constantly getting stuck, then we can put a no-go zone. The robot will stay away from those cables. And so it completes the entire cleaning, because if it goes and gets stuck on those cables every time, you're having to hassle with it. You're having to pick it up. It doesn't finish its cleaning. It's kind of, this thing's not doing a really good job. So robots that I recommend typically in my house at home, it's a very average house. I typically have about 4 or 5 no-go zones, typically in bathrooms where the area is really small, and maybe we're an area where it might get pinched. If you're having to add 10 to 15 no-go zones, it's probably not a really good robot for your home, and you may need to get one with better obstacle avoidance, because the obstacle avoidance is all over the place on these robots. So adding no-go zones is going to eliminate some frustration, but don't add too many, because then it's just not cleaning your home. Number 3, not cleaning your filters and your sensors. So I'm guilty of this all the time. You're going to see a pop-up in your app that say, hey, it's been 30 hours, clean the sensors. I let it go. I shouldn't. I just exit out. I'll reset the timer. But the cliff sensors are pretty important so it doesn't fall down your stairs. Making sure nothing's around the LiDAR. But the biggest one is the dustbin filter. You're not going to get a notification that says it's time to clean your dustbin filter. These manufacturers have a timer in the app that says it's when it's to replace it, which is like 150 hours. Well, these things cannot go 150 hours. They're small. All your airflow for your vacuum goes through this filter. So this needs cleaned early on. When robots first come to your home, you're going to want to clean this probably every other day. If you've got this cleaning your house every 2 or 3 days, which I recommend, you're going to want to clean this every couple days. It's going to get extremely dirty, and it's just, once it fills up, then your suction just goes really low. And with that being said, typically they don't come with these extra filters. Thankfully, these are reusable. So buy a couple extra, but you have to wash them with water, and you have to let them dry in the sun or over a register. So your robot's kind of out of commission until you get this dry. So buy a couple extra filters, and you're just going to notice noticeable results. It's going to clean a lot better keeping that filter clean. Number 4, leaving lightweight rugs out. Okay, so here is a rug, and it's lightweight. Now, this one also has tassels. That's a whole nother story, but cheaper robots, only your super expensive robots are going to be able to handle tassels. But most robots can't handle rugs that slide easily. Their wheels will just move it. So a good rule of thumb is if you walk on it and the rug is constantly moving, you're probably going to have to pick that up whenever the robot is scheduled to do a cleaning. With that being said, you could put a no-go zone or a no-mop zone, but they just really struggle with lightweight decorative rugs. And they also really struggle with tassels too. So whenever you get this on like a regular schedule, just go around, pick those rugs up, and then have it. That way when it cleans your house, those rugs aren't there. Okay, something else, base stations. So base stations love where they're located. We're given dimensions. I have found that you need about 1 foot clear on either side. You need about 3 feet clear in front of it. It needs to be up against a wall. But one of the big things is it needs to be on a hard surface. I have put base stations on carpet. Some work, some don't. You know, what happens is when the base station's on carpet, the robot can sometimes struggle getting into the dock. I've seen them where they're like sitting in front of the dock, like, why didn't you dock? Well, once I moved the base station to a hardwood floor, in theory, they should be able to be on carpet. And I do have a lot of robot docks on carpet, but for the most part, I recommend having them on a hard surface. They don't leak water, but sometimes you have to clean them and you don't want to get any of that cleaning whenever you're cleaning this on your carpet. So just a good rule of thumb, if you can, put it on a hardwood floor. If it does struggle on carpet, just immediately move it to a hardwood floor, and that should help it with auto docking. Okay, number 6, not understanding the app. Okay, number 6, not understanding the app. This is actually a huge one. And it's more so with certain manufacturers. Come to mind, Ecovacs, Narwal. So when you get a robot vacuum cleaner, the first thing I recommend is have it clean your entire home for a couple days before you go in and mess with the settings too much. If you watch my videos on how to set them up, I'll show you the basic settings. We don't mess with things too much. We just want this robot to go around and clean our home. Why? Because it has a carpet sensor. So the robot's going to meticulously map your home, and then when it does a full clean, even before you add some no-go zones, it's going to clean your home. What it's doing is it's determining where all the carpet is. Anytime this is running on your floor, it's constantly pinging the ground, seeing where the carpet is, and it updates the map. And it updates, the robot gets smarter as it cleans your home. But unfortunately, some manufacturers, especially Narwal, I have been burned by this so many times that it's very frustrating. What happens is you unbox it, the robot vacuums your home, everything's going great. Okay, it's been a couple times. Now it's sensing where the carpet is, and for some reason, the default setting is avoid carpet. Well, you don't realize it, and all of us, before you know it, hey, why is it not vacuuming that room? Why is it not vacuuming that rug? So once your robot, and in the app identifies where all the carpet is, sometimes, well, all of them have a setting that is avoid carpet, because sometimes we don't want robots to go on carpet. I typically never have that setting on. Sometimes there's a setting where you want it to just cross carpet and not clean it. Those settings get activated. I can't explain it. I typically don't see that as much in Roborock, Dreame, or Mova. I've seen that in Ecovacs and especially Narwal. Narwal is notorious for this. In my opinion, Narwal just doesn't want robots to vacuum carpet for some reason, because they're so geared towards avoiding carpet that the default is just that. So I have videos on this, and I even have one specific video is how to fix your Narwal robot by avoiding carpet, and I show you how in the settings how it's kind of complicated. So You can Google search that, Just a Dad, how to fix Narwal carpet setting. But for other robots, typically the default setting is clean carpets, raise mop pads, that's what we want. There is one setting that sometimes I play around with, which is clean carpets first before it wets the mop pads. That's a nice setting. You know, most of these robots, under the $800 and under, for the most part, they leave their mop pads installed, so you don't want them wet while it's vacuuming your carpet. None of them can raise them high enough to where they're not somewhat dragging on carpet. So some of the more expensive ones can leave the mop pads back at the base station, which is nice whenever it goes in vacuums. So always put, at least in the carpet settings, make sure it's vacuum carpet raised mop pads. All right, that's a big one. You will have more frustration. I've had robots that undock, they spin, and they say they can't find, or they can't make it to the cleaning zone. It's because they're on carpet and the carpet is set to avoid. So very frustrating. I've almost sent a couple robots back until I figured that out. Okay, number 7, not putting a robot on a schedule. This is one of the number one things I recommend to people when you first get a robot vacuum cleaner. It's new, and you think, when I first got a robot, I thought, well, I'm just going to tell it when to clean. When robots are docked, you press the power button, and that tells the robot to go and clean the entire home, and that works. What I found is I would forget to do that. And then it's not cleaning your home. The number one tip I tell people to do is in the app. It's very easy, and I show people in my setup videos. I have specific setup videos for all the robots I recommend. In the setup video, I show you how to put a robot on a schedule. At the very beginning, put it on a schedule at least once, maybe twice a week, where it cleans your entire home. It's going to get it thoroughly clean. We're going to clean that filter a little bit more. We're just going to get this thing nice and working. It's checking, making sure it's not failing. Are you happy with it? So putting it on a schedule is really, really important. I didn't think that was that big of a deal when I first got robots, but it's actually the number one thing. And here's the second reason for that. It's easier. Like, a lot of times I put a robot on a schedule. I think I got mine going like at 9 a.m. And at home I have an office, and sometimes it comes in there and they're noisy and it's bothering me. I'm on the phone, or I'm like, oh, this thing, just get out of here. So it's easier to tell a robot to leave the room or go home. You know, it's easy to stop a robot than it is to remember to start. So that I learned the hard way is, okay, when I put them on a schedule, I know they're cleaning my home. And if it starts to bother me, I can just go up, hit the dock button. But a lot of the robots I recommend if you have your phone handy and it's cleaning the room that you're in, you can tell it to skip this room. I've done that so many times, because a lot of times when I'm in the room and I'm working, I don't want the robot in there with me. They are kind of noisy, especially if it's on carpet. They have carpet boost, which I do recommend that setting being on. Robot vacuum cleaners do need that extra boost, higher suction when it's on carpet. So easier to tell a robot to go home than to start cleaning. Number 8, expecting it. Okay. Is this robot vacuum cleaner, even the most expensive one? I recommend the Mova V50. It's about an $850 robot. The Mova P10 Pro is about it's a $400 robot. I absolutely love because of the price point. I have robots. The Saros 10R, when it first came out, was $1,500. I've got the Dreame Matrix 10 over there. It's like $1,600. I think I've spent as much as $2,000 for a robot vacuum cleaner. So here, are you expecting a robot vacuum cleaner to completely replace your vacuum cleaner? Say if you have a lot of carpet, you might be able to. If you have a lot of hardwood floor, you might be able to replace it. But carpet, while these things do good job of maintaining a clean home, expecting you to never have to vacuum your home again, I'm not sure if that's possible. And one of the main things is because, see, this is where the suction is. They have wheels. They have a side brush where they can go up against the wall, but they're always going to leave a certain amount up against your wall. So if you like a really clean home, you're going to have to vacuum around the perimeter of your room once in a while. The side brush does a good job of sweeping, but it doesn't actually vacuum. If you have a lot of pets, sometimes it's also a good idea. Like if you have a vacuum, like at my home, when I have a robot vacuum cleaner cleaning my rooms for a long time, I'll take a Dyson, a cordless vacuum cleaner, and I'll vacuum that room. There's stuff in the Dyson, so they're not getting everything. But that's the case with most vacuum cleaners. I've taken a corded shark that has really high suction power, and I've vacuumed a room, and then I'll grab another vacuum and I'll vacuum the room again. None of them get everything out of the carpet all at once. So with that being said, don't expect it to completely replace a vacuum cleaner if you want your house perfectly clean. But at my home and with my experience, I don't mop our floors. You know, once in a while, if there's a big mess, or if I want to get, if there's some areas where the robot can't go, I will have to mop. But it's pretty much replaced. We don't mop our hardwood floors. And honestly, I don't vacuum my home with a corded vacuum cleaner. Just once in a while, we'll grab it out just to make sure everything's doing okay. So, okay, number 9 and 10 kind of go together. Picking up small toys and putting it on the wrong schedule at the wrong time. So let's say you have kids. I remember when I had my kids were little, there was a certain time, like when they got home from school, the living room would be a playpen area, and they would get their Legos out, and there would be stuff everywhere. So if your schedule has the robot in that room at that time, it's probably going to struggle with kids and toys on the ground. So coinciding the schedule with kind of when people aren't in certain rooms. When I have it clean my entire home, I have it start in the living room in the morning. We're in the bedrooms getting ready. And then the robots we're kind of crossing paths. So as we're done, got the showers, we're moving to the kitchen. It's done with the living room and the kitchen, and it's kind of moving now. It's moving to the bedrooms. And now I don't want to be around the robot. I mean, they are kind of a tripping hazard a little bit, and you could hurt something on yourself, but you could also damage the robot if it's in the kitchen at the same time as you, especially the Mova V50. When that thing's doing a mopping only event, it is so quiet you don't know it's there. So, which is nice, but when they're vacuuming, I recommend putting them on the boosted suction. At first, I wasn't recommending that, but I do think robots actually need increased suction power when they're on carpet, just because they're not the best vacuum, so they need all the help they can get. Not letting it, number 11. Again, I'm going to put this entire list on my website, easy to read, easy steps. Not letting it learn your home. So this coincides with unboxing it. This coincides with when you first get a robot, put it on an aggressive schedule. The map is going to update. The map is going to change. It's going to figure out where all the carpet is. And you may want to wait on the schedule for about 3 or 4 days. So maybe just go up and hit the power button, or have it do an entire home clean in the app by you starting it. Once it's cleaned your entire home a couple times, go into the map, go into the app, take the time with the map. It can be a little tricky, and I know I get impatient, and I'm just like, but if you take the time with the map, you add the right names. If it's a kitchen, put the kitchen. It cleans things differently. If it's a kitchen or compared to a living room, I mean, there's this smart AI. They don't tell us a whole lot about it, but I have read that a little bit on some robots, like Roborock will clean a room differently if it's a kitchen. So take your time labeling the rooms. You can put custom names, dividing up the rooms, fine-tuning, like when it cleaned your home for those 2 or 3 days and you're going to have to go pick it up once in a while. That is with all robots. Figure out where those are, fine-tune those no-go zones, make them as small as you can. And here's where I caution, this all kind of coincides with that carpet setting I talked about earlier. All of these are just a little bit different, but after it cleans your home, it identifies where the carpet is. You can go in and add carpet. You can go in and fine tune where the carpet is. Those settings can be very tricky. I typically recommend people let the robot figure out where the carpet is, and you may go in and fine tune it if you can. Adding carpet is tricky, and sometimes it messes things up. The good thing about this is, let's say after 30 days, or say after a couple weeks, this thing's just haywire. Your map, your settings are all off. You can do a reset. The number one thing I recommend is turning the robot off and on. Sometimes these are just little computers. So just, you remember an older computer, you would just turn it, you would just unplug it and plug it back in and it would fix half the stuff. That still, to this day, that's the number one thing I think I tell my wife when her Mac's not working. I'm like, well, turn it off and back on. So they're little computers. You can delete the map and you can start all over with fresh settings. It's a little time consuming going back in and having it map your home, but you can delete what you have already and start fresh. It doesn't hurt the robot. I've had to do it sometimes. Sometimes I just get so wonky with the settings, and so the map gets so crazy. And especially with the carpet settings, I've had to delete maps just because I messed the carpet settings up too much. And so don't be afraid to do that. Now this next one, a lot of these robots, especially Mova, Dreame, Ecovacs, they all have this, and Roborock, they call it AI. I think Roborock calls it the smart plan. What I'm learning is, when I first got robots, it's very easy just to say, okay, AI, clean my home, and it's going to figure everything out for you. I don't think these AI, especially Mova and Dreame, Roborock's AI is a little bit better. While it does get the job done. What I have found is letting the artificial intelligence, the smart plan, it's easy. It typically uses more water than it needs to, so you're having to kind of fill the clean water tank and empty the dirty water tank. Its battery life is a little degraded because it's how it cleans your home. I've found, like right now I got the Dreame X60 at my home, and I'll see it going down the hallway about 3 times, and I'm like, you should just go down there once, or, it's just, well, I was hoping that was going to be the end all be all, we just put these on smart plan and it just figures everything out for you. Roborock is the best. If I was to choose one manufacturer that I would use their smart plan or their AI where it figures out how to clean your home, it would be Roborock. I got to do some more testing with it, but Mova and Dreame, I'm finding that if I go in and do custom cleans, and you can do this, and you can change your schedule. So what I recommend is clean certain rooms, and in the schedule, have it do a custom clean, and you figure out these things do work better if you can take the time and figure out how much water you want the mop pad to put down in a certain room. Play around with it. Turn it up to 30. And if you go in that room, it's got drips and it's got streaks. Okay, that's fine. You can turn it down then and play around with it. You can kind of figure out, if it's always in this room and it's on high suction, you can turn the suction down to lower to try to help alleviate some of it bothering you. So that's where it can be time consuming. I want to put these robots on auto clean and they just figure it out. They do it. But I do think we can don't be afraid to fine tune and go into custom cleaning for each individual room. And to go along with that, manufacturers just don't tell us anything about these smart plans. I've been asking Mova and Dreame when I see them at these as consumer. I didn't ask them at the Consumer Electronics Show. I got to make a list of questions to ask because that was crazy. Well, there was just so much going on there. So if they're listening, I would love more information on the smart plan. Like, what is it doing? We need to be able to see that if it's living up to what you're telling us it's doing. Right now, you say it cleans our house smartly. Trust us. You don't give us hardly any information on how it does that. And that's where I'm, after 250 robots and living with these robots, most of the time I've got 3-4 robots at my house. I'm starting to see a pattern of when it's on the AI, it's just not as efficient as it could be. And I think it does get the cleaning job done, but I want more efficiency. I don't want to fill the water tanks up as much. And I wanted to be able to clean the entire home on one pass instead of going having to charge and then picking up at like 7 o'clock at night. Because if it doesn't finish cleaning your home, it goes in charges. Then it starts in a time when you weren't expecting it to start. So I hope these manufacturers can give us more information on the smart plan. But if you can take the time, go in and help create more of a custom mode. And just along that line, so Ecovacs, their X11, their smart plan is crazy. And I'm not saying crazy good. Very complicated. It wants you to tell it how to do the smart plan with, you go in there and it's like, it was even way too overwhelming for me. So you've got some smart plans that are just like smart and they don't really do much and they don't tell us. And you got this new level, this Ecovacs just came out with, that's even way more complicated. So learning how to do custom cleaning each room is going to be key. So again, check out my website. It's going to have this in, I mean, the video was a little long-winded. It's going to have this in complete form, easy to read. I've got about 7 or 8 kind of buying guides and fix-its. If your mop pads aren't getting wet, I show you how to prime up the water pumps. If your dustbin's not emptying, I show you how to put it on a schedule. I just want to be your go-to place for robot vacuum cleaners. This is what I do for a living. I have a lot of information. At first, it was just buying them and unboxing them and then reviewing them. And then I come up with a scoring system, and I've got my recommended robots. Right now, we're almost to Amazon big spring sale. So when these Amazon events happen, this is the time to buy the robots that I recommend. On my website, I have the robots that are on sale. And then I also have an email. When this one just hit $3.99 yesterday, I sent an email out yesterday. So that people, if you go to my website, sign up for my email list, only when a robot that I highly recommend goes on sale are you going to get an email from me. And I may send out some tips and tricks, like if I get a new tip on the Mova P10 Pro, I think I'm up to about 5 or 6 things now to help you with your Mova P10 Pro, mods, best hacks, best way to get, these are robots that I have already recommended to my friends and family. In fact, there was a friend from church. I recommended one to him for Black Friday. And I just texted him yesterday. I said, hey, how's that? I haven't heard from you. I haven't heard that it's, when he first got it, he had a few questions. But I said, hey, how's that robot doing for you? Because I'm really recommending it a lot still. I have 2 of the Mova P10 Pros, and I've recommended 4 or 5 to friends. But I asked, he said, it's doing great, and they love it. They didn't realize what robots were capable of. And that's what I keep telling people. These things are the future. They're going to gain you time back in your life. And that's just plain and simple. And they're only getting better. And some of the good ones, the price is coming down because they're coming out with new ones. And sometimes the new ones just aren't as good. Like the Gen 2 Mova P10 Pro, boy, it cleans better. It mops better and vacuums better. Navigation isn't quite as good, so it uses a little bit more battery. Might get stuck a few more times, but they did figure out how to make it mop better. So again, justadadapproved.com. I use links. I got a scoring system. The 250 robots that I have reviewed, eventually every single one of those robots will show up on my website with a written review and my scoring system. So when I say I don't like any iRobot Roombas, you can go on there and see for yourself. I have videos on every single one of them, and sometimes those are long, but if you can see why I didn't like it, and basically it comes down to there's ones that clean better, easier to mess with, because as you saw from this, what I talked about, when like the Roombas, their app, I could probably add 10 more things to help you when you buy a Roomba, because and same with Shark. Their apps are just so outdated. The interface with these robots is, and iRobot does have a newer app, but it's not smooth. It's not easy to follow. Same with Narwal. The app is just not smooth. So again, and that's why not a lot of Narwhals are recommended by me, because it has to be easy to use. It may be the best cleaning robot in the world, but if you can't interface with it with this, and if you can't it's not going to do you any good. If it's hard to use with an app, and it doesn't matter how well it cleans. The only way to interface with these things is with the smartphone, the app. So again, JustADadApproved.com. I do purchase these robot vacuum cleaners with my own money. This is home of the honest review. There's lots of bad robots out there. I want to help protect you that you won't be getting a bad robot. So again, if you could, please like, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this type of video. I look at my comments. If you're having problems with robots, go to my website. I have a contact form there. Contact me. Leave a comment. That's the reason behind a lot of my videos recently. I've got this series coming out trying to help people when they purchase these robots. Priming the water pump was a tricky thing on this one. I got a video and it helps fix the robots. So again, thanks everybody. If you could, please like, subscribe, and check out JustADadApproved.com.